Joined by sports director Matt McCoy. And on the live line, Hondo Carpenter, editor at Spartan Nation. Hondo, it's great to have you on this morning.
Great, guys. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Super. Give me just a thumbnail. How long you been covering Sparty?
Wow. On the full-time beat over 20 years, and I can tell you that, I'm my first memory as a child is at Spartan Stadium when I was 3 at a football game, so I've been there my whole life.
That's a pretty long time, dude. So, walk me through. I mean, you've had great victories, just like the Buckeyes, overtime, bowl games, and all that kind of stuff. But tell me, is there anything more special than taking down the Buckeyes, whether at home or here?
Yeah, no offense, but sometimes I think the Buckeyes are so focused on the Buckeyes. You got to remember, we're the only people in the world that hate Michigan more than you. So,
yes.
No offense. There is nothing. I don't care if it's. I would rather see Michigan State beat Michigan in chess than Ohio State in anything. So, listen, you guys, you're going to think this is a joke, but my father, when he died several years ago, and he said to look right at his doctor, he goes, if I need any medical care at Michigan, let me die. So my son's name is Duffy, after Duffy Doherty.
Yeah.
And when he was in kindergarten, he never used blue or yellow crayons. He wasn't allowed to. I told his teacher, fail him. I don't care if it is kindergarten.
Unbelievable.
This is
so,
serious.
Yeah, no offense to the Buckeyes that think very highly of themselves, and you should. I think you're the number one team in America. I don't care if Michigan's 0-11 and you're 11-0. I'd take a loss to Ohio State, beat Michigan any day of the week.
Okay, I think you've made your point, Hondo.
Yes.
So let's talk this week. You've kind of been the giant killer a couple times in recent memory. I think, Matt, you were saying what, in 13?
Well, 2013, 2015, going back further, 1998, 1974, undefeated Ohio State teams lost to Michigan State and kind of spoiled the season.
Yeah, so, when you look at that and maybe not the ecstasy that you're hoping for, like beating the maize and blue, but what do you feel like your side's got to do to kind of get that done again this year, Hondo?
Well, I think there's going to have to be a lot if they're going to come there. First of all, they're going to actually have to have an offense. Because you can score against Indiana and Western Michigan does not mean you have an offense. Mark D'Antonio gambled with the luster of his legacy last year when he chose not to fire anyone. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, he's the all-time winning coach at Michigan State. His legacy will go down as that. He's a good man. He's an honorable man. But when he chose not to fire anyone, he took a huge risk. And they have the number one defense in America, in my opinion. This defense is absolutely unbelievable, but just completely runs out of steam with an anemic offense. And, the fans here are smart football people. They know how good that defense is. Mark D'Antonio a couple of weeks ago referenced trestle ball. And, boy, we won national championships only, scoring 12 points or 15 points. But the problem is this is a new age, and they're going to have an offense against the first real defense they're going to face. And, Michigan State hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 2 games against Ohio State. And this is a much better defense than you had in either one of those years. I just think that this is going to be a very long, miserable day for the guys in green.
Hondo, you mentioned how good Michigan State is defensively. For Ohio State fans that, kind of semi-follow Michigan State on the periphery, you have your own Chase Young in Kenny Willekes. Tell us a little bit about how good this guy is on the defensive line and what makes him go.
First of all, he has one of the best motors I've ever seen. He's hungry, and he plays with hunger. He came as a walk-on. He was a guy last year projected by a lot of people to be a first-round draft pick. You may remember he was Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year.
Yep.
He'd earned a scholarship. A lot of people asked him, are you going to not play in the bowl game? And he looked at one report and goes, what the hell are you talking about? Why would I not play in the bowl game? I'm a football player. Then he goes and snaps his leg. And so he had to come back. And all summer when he's been asked and all fall, he looked at people and goes, I'm tired of people acting like playing college football is a punishment. He goes, so I get to finish my degree. There's still going to be the NFL there, and it's not like I'm going to be fat and sassy. I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked. He's a relentless machine. And here's the deal. There are guys that are bigger, guys that are faster, guys that are stronger, but no one's been able to stop him without double teams and without absolutely having to keep their attention on him. He is a bona fide star. But when you look at that Michigan State defense, guys, just take a second. Think about this one. You got Joe Bocci in the middle, who may be the best middle linebacker in America. And the guy's phenomenal. You guys are well aware of this. Mark D'Antonio does a thing where he scores people on production points. It started years ago when he was a GA. Then the most productive in his system, if you have 20 points, it is considered a superb football game. And think about all the great defenses that he led at Ohio State. The other one last week, Joe Bocci had 53 production points.
Wow.
He said by far the most he's ever had. I had one NFL scout send me a text saying that kid just made himself a boatload of money. Then you got a shutdown NFL corner in Josiah Scott. You got the best 1-2 combination of defensive tackles in America, and that's not me saying it as a guy that covers Michigan State. I've talked to multiple scouts. I had one scout of a playoff team tell me we would trade our starting 2 defensive tackles from Michigan State, Mike Panashuk and Raekwon Williams, both great kids out of Chicago. So that defense is stout. Now, if you're Ohio State, you can learn a lot from Indiana. You're not going to just go out and run down the throat with them. I think when you saw Michigan State, when Connor Cook was out and they beat you with 2 backup quarterbacks, you saw what at times was Urban Meyer's weakness. I respect Urban, so please don't hear this as disrespect. But if Urban walked into a room, he wasn't shy to tell you he was the smartest person there. And they wanted to run against Michigan State, or they wanted to do things that Michigan State wasn't going to let them do. And that's why they lost that game. When Michigan State went down there in the bad weather with backup quarterbacks and beat Ohio State, Urban Meyer beat Ohio State. And not being rude, I have so much respect for the Buckeyes, but that was a fact. I don't think Ryan Day brings the arrogance of Urban Meyer. It's why I wrote in this summer, anyone saying Ryan Day wasn't proven was an idiot, because he did lead the team when Urban was suspended. And I know that he does not have the championship pedigree yet, but I think they're a more dangerous team because of Ryan Day than if Urban was there. So I think Ryan Day is going to look at that film and say, okay, you know what? We're not going to be able to come out and just run against you. But you may remember something. When Michigan State played Alabama in the college football playoff, going into halftime of that game, Alabama was up, I think, 3 or 7. They couldn't run on Michigan State. And they came out in the second half with Lane Kiffin at offensive coordinator and slaughtered the Spartans. And afterwards, Saban said, I may not be the smartest guy in the world, but I know who I can and can't run against. And once I'm proven I can't, I'm going to do what I can. And that's going to be the key for Ohio State. If they just come out and say, fine, you know what? You got a first-round draft pick in Josiah Scott as a corner. Now, they do have one weak corner, the other, but both their safeties are NFL caliber. Their entire 2 deep at the defensive tackle are going to play in the NFL. All their linebackers are NFL guys. So they're going to come out, and I think if they do what Indiana did, I absolutely think that Ohio State will clean their clock. Defensively, they don't have to change anything.
Right.
You are the Ohio State. Come out and prove to us against somebody who actually, if we were arrested for being a Power 5 defense, there's enough evidence to convict us. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know that Michigan. I'm gonna tell you this. I don't think Michigan State can get over 10 points. And you may be being very generous to say 10, because that means there's got to, be either a couple of safeties or, by God forbid, a touchdown.
Hondo, I wish you'd take it a little more serious, dude. That was one of the greatest monologues ever in sports history. Fantastic info. Now you know where we stand heading into the week. And, of course, we've got more coverage as we roll. Right now, that's Hondo Carpenter, by the way. He's editor at Spartan Nation.